All right, here we go. Episode number 3.
With my husband.
My wife, man. We're talking.
Dondrei.
We're gonna be talking about conflict resolution.
Yes, we are. Conflict resolution is so big because how you fight the battle is half of the battle. You know what I mean? Fighting fair and making sure that when you get into disagreements, they're productive, because I don't subscribe to the fact that conflict is bad. I think a lot of us have grown up with that idea, but conflict just means there's an opportunity to get on the same page. And so talk about how you grew up seeing conflict and conflict resolution.
Oh, man. So, because I come from a single parent household, I didn't get to see conflict resolution or anything like that until, well, within my own household, until my mom, was married and stuff, but I was already out the house. So prior to that, any other relationships that I would see is kind of where I got the idea of resolving a conflict, or within athletics and sports with my coaches, but never between male and female, or like from a relationship standpoint. Even from my aunts my aunt and then cousins and things like that, I would see their marriages or relationships. And it was just a lot of arguing. In some cases, putting their hands on each other, being physical with each other, whether it was male and female or not. Like, it just felt it felt wrong to see it. And I remember one of the first movies that truly helped me understand just how wrong it was, though it was common in what I was seeing when I would go to my cousin's house, was Love Got to Do With It. I would say that's where my view of conflict resolution came. There wasn't any. There wasn't an idea of it. So that was always my thought of conflict resolution. If it got too serious and too intense, I would rather separate myself and go on about my business.
And that's a lot of people's view of conflict resolution. And to a certain degree, growing up in a 2-parent household, obviously my parents are divorced right now. And I always say, I think they are 2 very great people. Getting married and not necessarily having access to the tools that we have now definitely can affect the success of your marriage, And I just think that in my household, there was a lot of conflict, not a lot of resolution. So to me, conflict resolution was not to create conflict at all. Because when there was conflict, it was yelling, it was screaming, it was very traumatic. And the resolution was no resolution. There was no, okay, come on, I'm sorry for doing this, I'm sorry for doing that, let's make up, let's, show the kids that we made up. It was just quiet. Like, the resolution was to just be quiet and to not bring anything up, because the more you brought up something, the higher the pitch was going to get, and it would just last all night.
And this is you as a little girl.
Yes.
For our viewers out there with children, something to take into consideration.
Absolutely. And you think kids don't absorb what you do, but we are absorbing everything you do. You think you argue in the middle of the night and the kids are asleep. The kids are awake at the door listening to what's going on. When I got into relationships, a lot of times I would mask my voice and I wouldn't speak up and say much, because to me, if there was conflict, then there was gonna be a screaming match and all hell was gonna break loose. So I think that's 2 different, we both didn't have a healthy view of communication.
Yeah.
But we both were committed to saying, I know if I love this person and I look at them like this, I don't ever want them to feel demeaned or hurt or sad by my hands, by my words. So we have to do something different.
Yeah, I agree, honey. And I'm glad that we definitely chose to do something different and communicate with each other.
Yes.
Unrelated to the podcast, just again, thinking about our daughter and things like that.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good to know that there won't be a little girl listening behind a door or going up to her bedroom door to listen through the wall or through the door to see, what mom and dad are disagreeing about. Again, she's not here yet. We're not perfect, but that's something that I don't mind telling you, that's something I'm committed to. No knock to my in-laws. They are happily divorced.
And thriving, and they're actually friends right now.
Yeah, actually friends, squashed a lot of stuff. Like
can hang out, like they're great people.
And I think that that's, very important. Again, we may not throw around the D word and stuff like that, but to some that,
that
maybe
is real.
Was best.
Right.
After, a long period of time of not doing something different.
Right.
Which again, that's what this podcast is about, doing something different from what we have learned from our personal experiences, along from what we've learned in therapy and through worship and everything. So. And
I do think that there is, first off, I appreciate you saying that because that kind of healed a little piece of the little girl in me.
I like it.
So I think that the thing that I had to learn, saying what you need to say and saying it the first time, like because I saw conflict resolution as don't create conflict because there will never be a resolution, I oftentimes kept my mouth closed. And so because of that, Dondrei never really knew what was making me angry or what was making me sad. And he had to say, like, babe, like, you have to tell me what is on your mind. I can't read your mind. And it's the truth. He couldn't read my mind. And I wasn't expecting him to, but there was an expectation that if we're gonna do this, we're both being transparent. And so you had to really help me with that. And did you ever get tired of being like, oh my God, we back here again? Because it took some time.
Yeah, every time like something would upset her, I wouldn't know it because she would just like contain it.
Yeah.
And if that meant like, well, sweetheart, I'm going on a walk, or I'm gonna go to the gym, or do you have anything you want to do outside the house today? You should go and do that. Like, it was like these little subtle hints, but she was like, I'm gonna be respectful. I'm not gonna raise my voice, but that tone of voice was so familiar that I had already categorized it with, I'm in trouble. Like, I need to fix this. And so having to tell you like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, damn, girl, I gotta ask you 12 times before you finally tell me what's wrong with you. Like, let me know what's up. And then just because I bring home flowers and you smile or tear up or whatever, like, that doesn't mean that I've helped you get through what was bothering you.
That's big.
Once you understood that, like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. Because that was something we had to constantly remind ourselves when a roadblock or a tense moment, like, or a tense conversation would come up, because again, we weren't married yet.
Right.
So it's like, you still got a way out. Like, if you want to break up and leave, that's exactly what you can do, and I can't stop you.
Right.
But in marriage, we're not just gonna throw around a divorce or the option for a divorce. In fact, it's not an option. Like, outside of infidelity,
correct,
we're not divorced people. We're not like, okay, well, this is what we need to do. I just don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, no, you better find something to like about me. I got some nice ears, nice nose, like everything's proportional to my body, like figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for me. We spoke last episode about social media and I could see all of these women out here. She could see all of these men out here. But at the end of the day, I am only attracted to my wife.
Right.
And that is a choice that I make
every
single day. I'm not, swayed by women in tight dresses, because 25 years from now, when I'm celebrating 25 years of marriage with my wife, I think about what I achieved with my wife.
Right, and I think that's so good that you said that, because a lot of times, and I was talking to my little sister about this as well, it was hard for me to fathom that there was someone that was only going to be attracted to me, that I was gonna find a man that head wasn't on swivel, that I wasn't gonna catch him looking at somebody's booty as she walked down the door, and I had to accept that bad habits are not how all men are. Like, when people use that as an excuse to look over their shoulder, or to look at a booty, or to talk about women crazy, or to have that on their timeline, that is an excuse because you don't want to have the self-discipline to do something different. And you taught me that, because I would look at you like, there would be a pretty lady walking by and I want to give compliments. I'm like, dang, she pretty. Or, oh my God, her outfit cute. Oh my God, her face is beat. and I would look at him to agree, or I would look at him to like look
It could be
after
some
I
woman,
look.
some BBL lady coming by and she
And
like,
I ask.
wow, that's it. And I'll be like, I ain't noticed her.
And I'll look and I'll like side eye to see if like, you know, he watching in the mirror or behind his shades. And he didn't do those things. And I was like, wow. And that
And I
took
wear
discipline.
Ray-Bans like out in the public and all
Right.
of that. But I don't wear Ray-Bans that black out my eyes. You can see the shape of my eyelids and everything.
Nah, but I hit that in between the shade
she
and the
hitting in between the
I
glasses
was looking in between
to
the
see
glasses.
if my eyes were turning or if my head was slightly tilting. Like, again, it take all of that to look at another woman when I can't tell y'all the measurements over here.
You know what?
I have enough. I have plenty. God has given me everything that I need in a single woman, and it's mine. It's mine. Like, I can't express that. Like, no one else can share. I don't have to share. Like, so why look at what else is out there?
That goes back to things that we never do when we get into arguments. We never throw the D word around. We never say, you know what? Like, you're too much. We never talk at each other and say, you're too much, or I can't do you. We may go into a different part of the house and shut the door. I've done that before, you've done that before.
Yeah, you go in that other room and chill
Yeah.
out. But while she doing that, I'm not in the background. Yeah, go in that room and calm yourself down. Like, I'm not doing that. Or when I step into the garage or the patio, like, she not like, yeah, you need to go cool off. Like, we're not egging each other on. Like
that, yeah.
That's literally, y'all just shot at each other.
Yeah.
Now you reloading while they walking away. You gonna shoot them in the back? Like,
That's not okay. And I think that brings us to another thing. We also made a decision early on to not cuss at each other while we're having a disagreement either. Like, while we are disagreeing, I don't care how mad we both get. And we had to establish this early on by trial and error. Because it happened and we weren't cussing at each other,
just the
but
situation.
at the situation.
Like, this is crazy and
Right.
nah, man, if that and like, no, I'm not cussing at you, but I'm
Right.
cussing about the situation, which is coming off as aggression to my partner.
Right.
I'm a large man. My wife is not that big, so when I am aggressive, like
Right.
from her childhood, it may make her take several steps back.
Or take several steps forward and try to be bigger than the situation.
Yeah.
And so you are cussing. Now I am cussing and I feel like, okay, I'm going into SOS protection mode. So what do I have to do to protect myself? And that's dangerous because when you are in that mode, you don't know what you're saying. You will say, do, grab anything to make sure that you're protecting yourself. And so I didn't want you to have to go into protective mode. And I know you didn't want me to have to go into protective mode. So I think that also is something that I'm proud that we nipped it in the bud. First argument, it happened. We were not doing that.
And those conversations that we've been discussing with you are things that allowed us to continue being in the same book.
Right.
Like, not just on the same page, but in the same book. Like,
Right.
you know, sometimes I'm gonna be a few chapters ahead, sometimes she's gonna be a
Right.
few chapters ahead, but we still have to be in the same book and understand, like, hey, this is our Williams way.
Right. I agree. I also think another thing that we had to do was making sure that we address things right in the moment. Because a lot of times with couples, and what I was so bad at this, I would let stuff go because, again, I was scared of conflict because I never saw resolution. So I would let things go so long that it would pile up, and then all of a sudden it'd be like there's a dirty fork in the sink. And I would be like, oh my God, you are terrible. And now I'm addressing things from 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just got home.
Right. So I think that addressing things exactly when they happen, I know has helped me be transparent and find my voice. And you gave me a space to do that. So how has addressing things in the moment helped you? And were you always so quick to address things? Because you're way better than that at me.
No, I was not. And that was actually something that led me to being in a lot of terrible relationships for a long time. And I'm talking like 2-3 year plus relationships, a 1 year, like all of that, because I would not address things when I had an issue with them because I just wanted them to accept me. I just wanted them to still be nice to me, still love on me, like all of that. And I think it's easy to get caught up with that. It's a lot of women that get caught up in, oh, you know, he spends 48 hours straight on PlayStation or Xbox and then hangs out with his friends and then like all of these other things, but at least I know where he is and what he's doing. But again, you not okay with that. You want time to yourself. You want attention. Like, you got to speak up. So for me, again, with Kayla, I used to spend a lot of money early in relationships. Like, again, I wanted them to know that I'm good. I'm a good man. I listen. I'm attentive. I'm not going to try to hold you down, boggle you, like be a bugaboo. None of that. I'm chilling. Right. I threw all of that out the window because I knew this was the woman I wanted to marry, and I wanted to make sure that I knew that I can keep this up as well. Right. So waiting to bring issues up at the last minute, no, we nipped that in the butt. Again, if you listen to that first episode where we talked about how we met, and those expectations we set on each other.
I agree. And I think one thing that we make sure we do to ensure that we address things and everything in the moment is say, is there anything you haven't said that you need to say? Because something in the grand scheme of things, sometimes you're talking and all of these emotions come out and then the other person responds and all of a sudden you're realizing, dang, I really needed to say that. So at the end of every conflict we have, we say, what do you need me to hear? And is there anything you need to say that you haven't said to make sure that there's no resentment that's being able to build? And
so that you're still feeling heard in that moment, because one thing about me that I've been really working on is not interrupting my wife mid-speech and, you know, her doing the same. She's always really good at it, but me, sometimes I'll be like, well, no, wait. And I want to say like this part, because I'm gonna forget my thought or something. So not waiting to say my piece and letting her finish talking and ignoring what she's saying, just saying, put it on the back burner, like, okay, this is a point that I wanna make. And knowing that she's gonna ask me that, it allows me to listen to her and then a space to give my feedback on how I feel. Like, you know, I understand where you're coming from. That word but negates everything that was said. So I come in with, I understand where you're coming from my perspective. This is the part that I took the wrong way, which then resulted in me responding this way, and we're not the enemy. Like, walk yourself through it verbally if you need to. Don't sit there again and shut your brain off in between so that you can give your powerful response that you think is gonna give this dramatic effect or change to the argument, because now it's a cycle. And now you literally get the perforated line, the troops start falling back, and now you got your tank and your machine gun and y'all are going to war with each other, instead of saying like, hey, is there anything else you need to hear, and crossing that line. Well, actually, I needed to hear this, and now we're on each other's sides. I now understand where she's coming from. She understands where I'm coming from, and she stepped over to where I'm coming from. I've stepped over to where she's coming from. And, you know, now we're able to just talk about that. So definitely has helped us, and that's something we've done, I want to say in the last 6 months, is added in that, you know, what is it that you are not saying, or what
that like, you need to say.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes you still a little fired up, and it's like, why you all amped up if we
just talked about this? But it's because it's something left unsaid. Or what do you need me to hear because you don't feel heard? And when you feel like you said your piece and you feel like you feel heard, now the walls come down and you can put your weapons away because you're like, wow, I've expressed myself. And I think that aids a lot in us recovering quick, which is the last thing that we have tried to commit to. He is a lot better at that than I am, because it takes me a minute to be like, okay, you still mad? Or am I still mad?
After I try to hug and stuff like that, she may lock up on me like, literally like that, like she's stiff, and I'm like,
And I'm like, dang, get off.
I don't really mess with you like that right now. And I get it, because again, you just got out of a tense situation, a disagreement. Like y'all are not on the same page, still in the same book, respect each other enough not to, you know, pop off at the mouth on either party, but enough to contain it. Like, you know, I don't know if I'm ready to be loved on you or touched by you. And that's where we get into the whole, okay, well, I'm going to the store and I'll be back a little later. And, you know, that could possibly be the last time you see your spouse. And it's something petty that kept you from receiving that love that they give you. So a part of my recovering quick is I know I need to immediately go physical with my wife. Not sexual, but physical. Like, hey, let me touch you. And that may start with just grabbing her hand while we walking or sitting down or watching TV so that we can come back together. Because if she locks up on me,
I'm ridiculous.
Yeah, so that thought of recovering quick is like, don't spend the same amount of time that y'all spent mad at each other, beefing, separated, whatever it is. Don't spend that same amount of time trying to recover from it. Like, let's punish the devil, let's piss off the devil and recover back sooner. It's hard because, you know, a lot of people are not like, you know, they want to get married, they desire to get married, but it's not always a feasible thought, especially if there's no example of it before. It's very easy to get caught up in, okay, well, I want it to look like this. I want it to feel like this. This is what I want people's view of it. Like, y'all, we got married on our lunch break. You can start something different with your spouse.
And it look like how you want it to, because an ideal marriage is not conflict free. Like, I think that's what is in some people's mind.
We don't have a white picket fence, if you were curious.
It's not a conflict free marriage, but I think there is no way to grow without conflict. There's no way to grow without stress. You don't even grow an inch without having your bones hurt a little bit and be like, ow, I got some growing pains. And so I think if you look at it like that, marriage helps you to become the person you really want to become, because it's somebody that doesn't allow you to compromise where you are. And that requires more of you because they see more in you. And that's why recovering quick is important, because when we have a conflict, the conflict isn't the end of our marriage. It's just, you know what, we needed to grow in that area, and I'm gonna stand by you while we do grow. And we're gonna get through this as a we and not just as an I. I'm not leaving it on you.
And you will not always like the feelings that come with that. You can't take that out on your partner.
Because it's not their fault. And they're not there to condemn you. They're there to love you through it.
To love you through it. Once that thought is in your head, divorce is off the table. We understand that we need to recover quick. We understand that we need to communicate any things that weren't communicated during the disagreement and move on from it. And continue to love each other, continue to build. And like that fast, we're at the end of the episode, y'all. So
that's it.
Hope you enjoyed another run of On Our Way.
I'm
Let's
excited.
Get after it. I love you, woman.
Love you.